Hello, and welcome back to the Grave Chroniclers. Sit back, relax, get cozy under your blanket, and take a deep dive into imagining a real-life horror situation in the safety of your home. Three men went into a cave in rural Tennessee on a Saturday morning. Only one came out walking. This is the story of the Harlan Cave incident, a disaster that rescue workers, geologists, and caving communities across the country still reference today. Not because it was the deadliest cave accident on record, not because it was the most dramatic, but because of how many small, ordinary decisions led three people into a situation they could not undo. Every single warning sign was there. Every single one was missed. This is what happened. It was April 3rd, 1941, a Saturday. The kind of spring morning where the air smells like rain, but the sky hasn't made up its mind yet. Marcus Webb was 34 years old, a high school earth science teacher from Nashville who had developed a serious hobby in recreational caving over the past 6 years. He'd done dozens of trips. Wild caves in Kentucky's Mammoth Cave region, Alabama's Tumbling Rock, a couple of technical vertical descents in West Virginia. He wasn't a certified caver, but he wasn't a beginner either. He owned his own gear. He'd read the books. He'd taken one weekend safety course years back and believed that was enough. His younger brother Dillon Webb was 27. A personal trainer, physically fit, and the kind of person who never said no to an adventure his older brother proposed. He trusted Marcus completely. The third person in the group was a man named Charleton Hadsworth, 31 years old, a freelance photographer from Knoxville who contributed to various nature journals. He was passionate, prepared with his heavy camera equipment, and completely open about the fact that he had never been inside a wild cave before. That last part should have given Marcus pause. It didn't. Marcus had found Harlan Cave 2 weeks earlier through a caving club journal. The cave had no official name on any public record. It appeared in no geological survey database. The only information about it came from a single entry by an explorer who described it as, quote, a moderate system. One tight horizontal squeeze about 200 feet in, then opens into a gorgeous stream chamber. Nothing technical. Bring knee pads. That was it. That was the entire research file on Harlan Cave. They arrived at the trailhead off a county road at around 8:45 in the morning. When they stepped out of the car, the air was noticeably cool and damp. Marcus checked his pocket watch and noted the overcast sky. He decided they'd be out well before any rain arrived and didn't think about it again. The hike to the cave entrance was about 20 minutes through light brush. The entrance was tucked into a limestone hillside, a low, dark oval in the rock about 4 feet tall. Cold air breathed out from it steadily. Charleton photographed the entrance from several angles. He said it looked like a mouth. He wasn't wrong. They clicked on their headlamps, and at 9:41 a.m., they went inside. The first section of the cave was a narrow walking passage. Tight shoulders, uneven footing, the ceiling close enough overhead that Marcus had to duck in places. The walls were wet to the touch, layered with flowstone and thin calcite formations that caught the headlamp light and threw it back in soft, milky glints. Charleton was shooting everything. Dillon was more talkative, pointing out formations, joking about the cold. Marcus navigated confidently, recognizing the landmarks from the description. A low crawl over a gravel bed, a short chimney section where you braced your back against one wall and your feet against the other to descend about 8 feet. A brief flat-out crawl through reddish clay. Then, at roughly the 200-foot mark, they reached the squeeze. It was a horizontal slot in the rock, 14 inches of vertical clearance, about 4 feet wide. The kind of passage that forces you to make a decision about your body and your willingness to commit to something uncomfortable. You had to exhale fully, flatten yourself, extend one arm forward, press your cheek to the stone, and push with your feet while pulling with your fingertips. Charleton stared at it for a long moment. Marcus told him, "It opens up on the other side. Bigger than anything you've seen in here." He promised him it was worth it. Dillon went first, sliding through in about 15 seconds. Charleton went second. He stopped once, halfway through, and Marcus heard his breathing change. Faster, higher. He talked to him calmly from behind. "You're okay. You're through the hardest part. Keep going." He pushed through. Marcus came last. And he was right. It did open up. On the other side of the squeeze was a chamber that stopped all three of them in their tracks, roughly the size of a basketball court, with a vaulted ceiling arching 30 feet above. The walls were pale gray limestone, laced with dark streaks. Along the far side of the chamber, a stream moved quietly over a bed of smooth stones. Clear, cold, maybe 4 inches deep. The sound of it filled the space with a gentle, constant murmur. Charleton said it was the most beautiful place he had ever been. They sat down on a dry rock ledge near the stream. Marcus felt the particular satisfaction of someone who has introduced a place he loved to someone experiencing it for the first time. It was 11:04 a.m. They had been in the chamber for about 18 minutes when everything changed. Marcus heard it first. It started like a hiss, a distant pressure in the air. Then a low sound he felt more than heard. Something shifting in the rock itself. Then, within seconds, it became unmistakable. A roar. Something moving through the cave system toward them. He was on his feet immediately, flashlight sweeping the walls, and then he saw it. At 3 separate points along the chamber walls, water was pushing through cracks in the limestone. Thin jets at first, then sheets. What had been a calm 4-inch deep stream was already 6 inches. Then 8. The weather system above them had released nearly 1.5 inches of rain in under 40 minutes. That water had moved through the thin soil and karst limestone above them with almost no resistance. The cave system was, in effect, a drain. And all of that water was now funneling directly through it. The underground stream was not a stream anymore. It was the beginning of a flood. Marcus shouted one word, "Move." They crossed the chamber in seconds. The water was at their shins now, ice cold. They reached the squeeze. The slot in the rock was now a black rectangle of moving water. The entire passage was flooded. Marcus made a rapid calculation. He knew its length, roughly 8 feet. If the water had risen to fill it completely, there was no air. Dillon said he would go first. He took 3 deep breaths, dropped into the water, and pushed into the squeeze. 7 seconds, 8, 9. Then from the other side, they heard him cough. A shout. He was through. Marcus turned to Charleton. His face was white. He held him by both shoulders. He told him, "It's 8 feet. 8 feet, and you're out." He told him to exhale everything. Push hard, and don't stop moving no matter what he felt. Charleton nodded. He went in, and he didn't come out. Investigators believe Charleton became disoriented halfway through. In the flooded dark, something in his mind broke. He stopped moving forward. Marcus could not get him through. At some point, he understood that he was gone. Marcus turned back into the rising chamber and found a narrow upward crack. A chimney. He climbed. 6 feet up, it opened into a small alcove. He sat in complete darkness and waited for 1 hour and 53 minutes. Dillon Webb alerted the authorities at 12:14 p.m. Rescue teams found Marcus Webb at 2:44, hypothermic but alive. Charleton Hadsworth's body was recovered 3 days later. He was 31 years old. In the months that followed, Marcus Webb spoke about the incident. It was a chain of ordinary decisions that led to disaster. Caving organizations used the story in safety training. Flash flooding in caves does not give warnings. It fills passages completely and fast. Charleton Hadsworth went into a cave on a Saturday morning to take photographs of something beautiful. He never got to share them. Somewhere in the hills of Tennessee, that cave continues to breathe cold air. And every time it rains hard enough, it floods. Share this story. Subscribe for more. And if you ever go caving, check the weather and never go somewhere you can't get out of.